Hello, Bravo bosses, and welcome to the Bravo Investigator podcast with me, your host, Dana. Today, I'm jumping in with a special bonus episode where I've interviewed Bridget Matloff from The Ultimatum Queer Love on Netflix. So, if you haven't checked out this show, it is such a hidden gem. It is literally one of my favorites. So, we all know Love is Blind, hosted by Nick and Vanessa. Then we know the spinoff, The Ultimatum. So, the premise of the show, The Ultimatum, is that it brings forward a bunch of couples where one person wants to get married in the relationship, the other person doesn't, and the person who wants to get married has issued their partner an ultimatum. So the experiment is basically where the couples come together. So there's all these couples who have issued each other ultimatums, and they basically get into relationships with other people from the other couples, and they end up basically living in a sort of mock relationship with them for 3 weeks. And it's to determine whether they really don't want to get married at all or whether they just want to be married to a different person and actually need something different from a relationship. And then after that 3 weeks of their trial marriage, they'll go back to their original relationship and then live like a married couple for 3 weeks in that relationship. And then at the end, they will propose and they will determine whether they want to marry that person or not and whether they want to fulfill that ultimatum. So the ultimatum Queer Love is the queer version of that. And it is in its second season, which just finished on Netflix. I just found out about this show in December. My boss told me about it, and I binged season one in like a day. It is so good, and season two is even better. I can't even describe why. I guess because just women are better at communicating, and there's just so much drama. That being said, there's so many women whose names start with M, and I just cannot keep track of everyone's names. But I really wish there was more podcasts that did recaps of it because it really, really, really was just such a good show. I don't know. I feel like I learned a lot. I feel like it was just so interesting. It really just kept me like motivated, and I just was really into it. So please enjoy my interview with Bridget Matloff. So Bridget was in a relationship with Kyle, and they ended up getting married at the end of the ultimatum. Spoiler alert. And so basically, we talked today about her experience on the show, her life before that, and her relationship with Gabby Windey and her thoughts on Vanderpump Rules in the Valley. Let's get into it. Bridget Matloff, welcome to the Bravo Investigator podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. So, for my listeners, Bridget is from The Ultimatum Queer Love, and I really feel like this show is such a like hidden gem. I actually just discovered it like 7 months ago at my new job. My manager was like, "You have to watch this show," and I watched the first season over Christmas break last year, and I just became obsessed. And I don't know why, and I really can't articulate it or put it into words, but it's like almost like a spin-off of Love is Blind and like a spin-off of that. And I don't know if the communication is just more real or the relationships are more authentic. I don't know what it is, but I'm just really into this show. So I thank you so much for being here. And what I really enjoyed about you specifically was your energy. You give off like a really soft, kind energy to everyone
Thank
you're
you.
around. And like, I really feel like it emanated even through the screen. So I'm just like, I want to talk to this girl.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I definitely try and be kind to everyone, and I get along with everyone on the cast. So it's just, yeah, it was a crazy experience, but I think it's interesting to watch because, yeah, I think lesbians just really love to talk about their feelings. So you get
Is
to
that what it is?
see
I
a
guess
lot of
it's maybe more
maybe,
communicative. I'm not quite sure, but we'll get
yeah.
into it. But I guess I want to know a bit more about you first. So, where did you actually grow up?
I grew up in Seattle. Well, I moved when I was 10 from LA to Seattle. And
Okay.
then I went to NYU when I went to college. So I lived in New York for 8 years and then moved to LA.
Okay. And when did you come out to your parents? Was it when you were younger?
I I would say not until I had my first serious relationship, but we just never really talked about like any of that in general, like in detail. So
Yeah.
like if I'd had a boyfriend, that probably also would have been the first time I explicitly talked to
Hmm.
them about anything.
Yeah.
Um, so that was like after I graduated college was my first serious relationship, but
Hmm.
I came out, I was never in the closet.
Hmm.
Like as soon as I started exploring my sexuality, uh, it wasn't like in private or I was in college, so like
Yeah,
everyone kind of knew what I was doing and
right.
yeah.
It's just
And
out there. No, I love that. I
yeah.
love that. I, I hate to even give this guy credit because everybody hates him, but Colton Underwood said something that was really interesting in his Netflix documentary many years ago. He said, straight kids don't have to come out to their parents, so why do I? And I just thought it was really insightful. And it is, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
what? No one else has to do that. And so why
Yeah.
should you? It should just be. It just is, you know?
Yeah. I
And
think
I
it
feel
can
like
be
that's sort of how
powerful
you
for a
live.
lot of people who want to come out and like have a conversation about it. And I did have a conversation with my parents when I was dating the person at the time. Um, and they were accepting. I'm really lucky that I have like very liberal, accepting parents,
Hmm.
and I know that that's such a privilege. And so I definitely don't like anyone who has a hard time or stays in the closet or like fears for their safety. I totally like I'm very understanding about that, and
Yeah.
I just feel very lucky to have the parents that I have.
Yeah, for sure. So, what is your relationship like with Kyle's parents? And do you feel like you have that sort of same, just sort of love and acceptance from her parents as well?
Yeah, I mean, they're great. You got to see them on the show. My mom and brother also came on the
Yes.
show, but they didn't air that,
Hmm.
unfortunately. But I have a great relationship with Kyle's whole family. Love spending time with them. They're a lot of fun. I get along with them super well. And yeah,
That's really
Chris is
great.
definitely a character and she's super funny. And Gary's really funny too. And they're just a lot of fun together.
That's so awesome. It's really good that your families are just able to just intermesh and just it just be very easy for you. So I do love that.
Yeah,
But how did you and Kyle initially meet, actually?
we met on Hinge.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which is just
not
like
the
the
most
way these
interesting.
days, right?
Yeah, I
Just
know.
the hinge
I think
way.
I had never really used apps before, like
Hmm.
not extensively. I think like my freshman year of college, I used them the first week and then
Hmm.
never again. But I had just moved to LA and Kyla just moved to LA and we were both like trying to meet friends and also trying to date and just have fun. And she was, I think, my third Hinge date and I was her first Hinge date in LA. And it was just a pretty instant connection and we tried to take it slow and tried to like, you know, just keep it casual, have fun. Like we're so new to a new city.
Hmm.
Um, but we just got along really well. And it was also fun to have somebody to explore a new place with.
All right. So I think you were together about 2.5 years before you got cast on the show, right? Or before you started the show.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
closer to three, but yeah.
Okay. And how did that happen for you guys? Like, how did you actually get cast? Had you seen the show before? Were you reached out to? Just like, what was that process like?
Kyle actually applied because she just
Okay.
saw a casting call, and I don't think either of us thought anything of it. I think she like kind of thought it would be funny to apply, and um, we've always had like that the premise of the show. Like we've always had she's always wanted to get married, and I've
Okay.
always not really understood the point of marriage. So I think like she was like, somewhat as a joke, like, you know, just talking about that again. But also serious. And then like when the person in casting took over our application and we just kept making it through the next round and the next round, like I never really thought it was going to happen. So I didn't really like accept that it was a possibility. And then when it was actually happening, like you find out right before going on. So you don't have a lot of time to really
Like, process
think
it.
deeply
Yeah.
about, yeah,
Yeah.
process it. And I was in a weird place with other stuff in my life, and it was just like a good distraction, I think. And so we were like, you know what? How many people get the opportunity to do something like this?
Right.
Maybe it really will like open my mind to wanting to get married, and maybe like it'll allow us to kind of explore that and whether we
Hmm.
want that. And I thought, like, worst case scenario, it'll point out things that would have eventually come up in our relationship and it'll kind of speed up whether we know if we're right for each other or not.
But had she actually issued you an ultimatum, or was it just like conversations you guys were having? Like, was there an actual ultimatum in place that you guys had sort of issue to each other where
I
she
mean,
said 6 months and I'm done or anything like that?
no, there was no like time pressure. The ultimatum part of it was going on the show.
Okay.
Like it was like, well, this is eventually gonna, rear its head. Like this is something that I definitely want. This I'm speaking for Kyle.
Right.
And it was something that I was still at, the needle hadn't moved for me by that
Hmm.
point. So it's not like it wasn't an ultimatum. It was just kind of like there wasn't that time pressure until we went on the show.
Right. So why do you think marriage is so important to her? To
Um,
Kyle, sorry.
yeah, I think marriage meant something different to her than how I viewed it. And
Okay.
it took me like going through this whole experience to see that, which feels so stupid. And like, why couldn't I have just, you know, s- I don't know why it took that, but
No, but
yeah,
even
I
even
think
before that,
just,
like what do you think like the disconnect was or the difference in your mentality? Because I remember you saying something to the effect of, I don't want there to be like routine and monotony
yeah,
in the relationship. And I guess you equated routine and monotony with
yeah,
marriage and you wanted to make sure there was still like spontaneity in relationships. So do you
yeah.
feel like that's something maybe Kyle didn't understand, or do you feel like Kyle didn't really understand your point of view and thought, well, we can still have those spontaneous moments and be married? So I am curious, like, what really the disconnect was for both of you, like why it was so important for her and why you were just sort of, I just really don't think this is something I need.
Yeah, I think for me, I was just looking at it from a very traditional viewpoint. And I was like, who is this for? Like, I feel like I'm pretty committed to you and you're pretty committed to me. And like, really locking in is kind of just like, to me, it felt like a symbol of, or it felt like saying, like, we're gonna commit to each other even if we no longer are serving each other in the future. And I felt like, why would we do that? Like, you should always be reevaluating, always making sure that you're still good for each other. And that's not to like make her feel insecure or like our relationship's not stable or like I'm gonna walk away one day. It's just that I don't think anybody should stay just because you signed a piece of paper that says you'll stay. And that was where my stubbornness, I think, was coming from. Whereas with Kyle, I think she was just like, I like that it symbolizes like family. Like you are my family. Like I don't, neither one
Oh,
of
I
us
love
wants
that.
kids. And like this is just something that like I think she already had the proof that like we were gonna grow in the same direction and that like she just knew in her core that it made sense and like she wanted us to be on the same page about that and like kind of commit to working through things together and making our marriage what we want it to be and loving each other enough to like be flexible for each other in a way.
Yeah. Okay, well, getting into the show, I'm very curious, where did filming actually occur? Because because I couldn't really tell, is it like a simulation where you're all just like living in one place, the first set of marriage for 3 weeks, the second set of marriage for 3 weeks, and you're not in your real homes doing your real jobs? Walk me through what
Yeah,
that looks
so
like.
yeah, the filming is all in Miami. So
Oh, okay, so you all
yeah,
fly to Miami from wherever you're from. Okay.
yeah. And so if you work a remote job, you're still working during the
Okay.
trial marriages. But if you're someone like me or like Kyle, like yes, we are artists, we freelance, but like I, in order to support myself financially, have always worked in bars and restaurants.
Hmm.
Like that's the only way, unless you're being supported by someone else, that's the only way to like, I don't know, I've nannied, I've worked in the service
Yeah.
industry. So like those are not the types of jobs that I can do remote, obviously. So I had to quit that job.
Oh my
So
God, for
I
like
wasn't
6 weeks.
working, yeah, I was
Oh.
not working more than just doing like, a couple of freelance things, but for the most part was not really working. So I kind of
Hmm.
had my days free, which was nice. Because I could just like, go walk around the area, use the pool, read, do whatever I kind of wanted to.
Hmm.
Um, and then I kind of felt bad for the people who were working because you do film for a lot of hours of the day.
Hmm.
So Ashley would work until like 4-ish, and then we would have to film from then until like
Oh,
10 p.m.
yeah, it's a
So there
lot.
were days where she just like didn't even get to leave the apartment.
Hmm.
I would have been going crazy.
Yeah, for sure. That is so crazy. All right. Well, going back to before you picked Ashley, and so there's sort of this round table, I guess, the first night that we watched, where the host, Joanna Garcia Swigger, is that how you pronounce her name? Joanna
Fisher?
Garcia
Yeah.
Swigger. So she sort of announces like how this is going to work and that you're going to pick a trial partner and that you're going to stay with that person for 3 weeks. And you were just sort of like nervous giggling. And I'm just really curious what was going through your mind. I feel like this was the first time it was really hitting you what this really was. And I'm just curious, yeah, what was going through your mind at that moment? Was it because
Yeah.
this process was so long and you didn't think it was really going to happen and this was just like really hitting you?
I think I was just kind of like, how's everybody not like feeling overwhelmed right now? And maybe they were. I just show everything on my face.
Yeah,
But
same.
yeah, it's kind of just like the reality of you're sitting in a room full of strangers, and
Right.
like in 1 week's time, you're gonna have to share a bed with one of them and like do your day-to-day activities with someone. And I think, yeah, that's just what was going through my mind.
Yeah. Well, what were your biggest fears going to the experiment? Was it sharing a bed with someone or was it living with a stranger? I mean, there's, I would have so many fears. I'm curious yours.
Yeah. I think my biggest fears were like, um, I don't know, just like not finding someone that I could like vibe with enough for three
Hmm.
weeks or like that I, yeah, I guess that was it. And like not knowing, yeah, they're just like, I guess that was one fear. And then I think like I just feared, um, like with Kyle's and just like, I know how much she likes to like, do a good job and follow the rules and like make everybody happy. And she's a very good like listener and she makes people feel super special. And so like I just wanted to make sure she also was doing what she wanted and
Hmm.
like speaking up for herself and like,
Okay.
you know, I
She's a
think
people
like,
pleaser.
yeah,
Okay.
but it has its she's also just like a very kind, understanding person and caring person. And I love that about her. I think it just like also that I have like small fears with, what happens when that becomes more important than like speaking your truth. But I think
Right.
she did like speak up for herself, and so
Right.
she like proved me wrong in a way, and she is able to set boundaries and like do what she wants and speak her mind, even with how much harder it is for her.
Right.
So yeah, I
Well, yeah,
admire
it
that.
definitely seems like you all took something from it, which we'll get to later, and we'll get to what
Yeah.
happened with Kyle later. But I'm curious if just like that first night, like looking around the table, was there any couple that you were just like, okay, I know from the jump this couple is not going to make it. They're in trouble. This is like a last legs kind of thing, or was there just not a vibe you were getting from anybody like
Oh,
that?
I think like there were some couples that seemed to have like more challenges right off the bat and
Hmm.
seemed to like be expressing more of like the challenges that they were facing right off the bat. I think I noticed that with like Ashley and Marita, and
Hmm.
I think maybe I've just like spent more time thinking about their relationship, so
Fair
that might be
enough.
why.
Right.
Um, yeah, but I think like there were some couples that seemed to express more of the challenges that they were facing than others, but who knows if that's just
More vocal
like,
about it. Yeah.
yeah, or like feeling more comfortable doing that right away
Yeah.
versus like, yeah.
It's so true. You never know what's going on in someone's
Yeah,
relationship,
yeah.
even if they're on reality TV or not. When you were tricking, when you were picking your trial partners, were you shocked that Pilar was interested in both you and Kyle?
To me, I like Pilar and I were only ever like platonic friends, like, like that's why you see us talking about our other dates on our
Hmm.
dates with each other. And like, obviously, it's an uncomfortable process to go through. So you're gonna keep dating the people that you get along with well, and it was easy to have conversation with her.
Hmm.
So like I I didn't really view it the way that it was portrayed, I guess, when I was
Okay.
going through it. Like to me, like she
They have
was
to
my
create
friend that
some
I was
drama,
able to like,
right?
yeah,
So,
exactly.
well, did you get
Um,
jealous at all seeing Kyle date other people? Because the way they do that is weird. It is weird that you guys sort of have to do that in front of each other as well. It
yeah,
does sort of add an extra layer of like a knife to
yeah,
the gut, right? So,
yeah,
I mean, maybe that's just me. How did you feel about that? Because you knew that would be part of it. So, was there
yeah,
even just a
yeah.
little sting to actually be able to visibly watch her
Um,
do it?
I personally didn't have like an eye line to Kyle
Oh,
during any
okay.
of the
So you
dating
didn't have to see
days.
it.
So I didn't see anything. Um,
Nice.
and like watching it back, I also was fine because it's like I know how it felt too. Like you're saying things because you know you have this like time pressure to like
Yeah,
nail somebody down. So it's like you're taking everything with a grain of salt. Everyone's being like flirtier than they would actually be in real life. And like, because you have 1 week, you have to
right,
like find somebody and also make sure they're gonna pick you. And like, you're just pulling out all the stops kind of.
right.
But
Well,
it was such an uncomfortable, like, it felt more like interviews than dates. So I don't
right.
think jealousy was ever really on my mind.
It's interesting. Okay. Well, talking about people sort of playing it up and, being very flirty, AJ in particular was somebody that you actually kind of called out for that behavior. And as much as I see you, and I said this before we press record, you just have like this very like nice, kind, soft energy, but you're also able to put people in their place at the same time. Because I was actually kind of shocked to see you sort of explain to
Yeah.
AJ how you felt, but loved it. And so, what was it exactly about her that you felt was just like disingenuous? And what did you think about when she called you a feminine
Yeah.
prince? Is that what she said?
I love like
It's kind of cute.
I love the nickname she came up with for me. Very grateful for that. Um, And we had discussions like at the reunion and off camera, like, and we're good. Like, it was ultimately just, I have a very strong sense of justice, and sometimes that can make me like a little heated.
Me
And I
too.
think, yeah, I think after
Ugh,
having that
blessing and a curse, right?
conversation, yeah, I think after having that conversation with Marita during the mixer, where like she felt strongly for AJ, and
Hmm.
after that, AJ and I had a discussion, and like I wasn't planning on saying all that stuff in front of everybody. We had a private conversation at the mixer, one on one. And I thought that was going to be it. But then at the choice, everybody stands up and says two people that they're interested in. And so she still named me as one of the choices. So then I still had to like speak on that because they say, how do
Hmm.
you feel about that? And at that point, I was like, I don't think I can choose this person because it was a mix of like, yeah, the sense of justice, but also it's like on my mind is, okay, this is a person that I have to live with for 3 weeks, have conversations with for 3 weeks, and the only person I'm basically going to be interacting with for 3 weeks. And so on some of our dates, like I felt like she dropped the like playery thing and we got a little deeper, but like I didn't see enough of that to know what our day to day was going to look like.
Yeah,
And so that was a little daunting for me. So
right.
I think that was where the comments about like the manufactured confidence came into play because I was like, that's fine if that's what you do when you're dating, but like it's not going to work for this because like I now can't gauge like what a trial marriage is going to look like.
Right.
And that's what that was about. But we have no hard feelings now, or at least, yeah, I don't.
Do you think she possibly went on the show for the wrong reasons?
No, I don't know that anybody
That even
should
means
be
anymore?
like, yeah, I'm like, it's a reality show. Like, you're choosing to go on a reality
No, I
show.
wanted
I
to
don't,
do the ultimatum. I took
yeah,
that
I'm
very
just like,
seriously.
whenever people say, like, oh, is someone here for the wrong reasons? I'm just kind of like, take it all with a grain of salt. Like, come on. I don't know. I think, like, sure, did they want to promote Britney's business? Probably, but like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like,
Right. Like take the
do
platform if
what
you
you
can
got to
get it
do.
for sure.
Like as long as you can still commit to the experience when you're there and like try and get something out of just be authentic when you're there.
Yeah.
That's all anyone asks.
Yeah.
And
And I
I
mean, it
don't
was a
know
big
what her trial
contentious
marriage is
issue in
like,
this
so
in the first season. I don't know if you saw it. It was like a big kind of a big deal between Lexi
right.
and this other
Yeah.
girl. I forget her name. But I mean, yeah, it can be twofold, especially like I don't know how old school of a Bachelor fan you may be from like many, many moons ago because I don't watch that anymore. But way back when people would go on for a particular reason, it was to meet a certain guy. And now like it's very understandable that you're going to be going on for the platform and the followers and maybe to build your
Yeah.
business, and that's okay too. But I forget who said it. I heard it from someone recently, but basically the mentality that you wouldn't go into it even thinking about that would be crazy because it is a platform. Like to be on a
Yeah, I think
Netflix show
it's
is
yeah.
something, even good or bad.
Yeah.
It could be something bad for you, it could be something good for you, but it would be crazy not to think about it at all.
Yeah. Like for me, I was like, wow, that would be crazy to get to see like this totally different reality. And like I love psychology and human behavior and all that stuff. So I think like that was my big draw. Like I didn't have a social media platform at all beforehand. And like most of us didn't have followings or anything. And like I don't really know the first thing about like being an influencer, and I just am gonna be myself, and like I like making funny little videos. Like I'm happy to do that.
I
But
really
like
like your
that's I
videos.
don't think that was like I think I was just like definitely I mean Kyle's it took me a long time to be okay with the idea of going on a reality show. Like I did not think it was gonna
You do seem
happen.
shy. You don't seem like the most outgoing person in the world. So it did seem like it was still a struggle
Yeah,
for you.
I I don't know if I'm shy or like what the right word is, but I am not like the typical, well, I don't know what the typical reality TV person is anymore, but I have always enjoyed watching reality TV.
Fair
Never in a
enough.
million years thought I would go on a reality show. So I'm just trying to make the most of it now, I think, like, and just make fun of myself and have fun with it because, like, what else am I gonna do? I can't make videos taking myself seriously and talking about the experience. Like, that's just not
Yeah,
me. So, people can follow or not. I don't really care. It's fine. Do whatever. I'm just gonna keep making things that I think
that
are
make people
funny or that
laugh.
I think are, yeah, I don't know,
Well, on the
that
vein
make
of
me
being
laugh.
funny, and I hope you're not offended by it, so I'm going to try this. Okay. There are a couple of podcasts that talk about this show, not many. And I love a good podcast to like complement something that I'm watching. So there was a podcast, and I'm sure you could find it because, like I said, there are not many podcasts that cover this show, but they had this theory about you. Okay, they had this theory that you and Kyle are very close friends with Gabby, Windey, and Robbie Hoffman, and because of that, you two decided that we don't actually have any issues in our relationship. Nothing's really going to happen to us in this. So let's just use the platform for publicity. Getting the idea from Gabby and Robbie Hoffman, and then just like using this platform to just sort of elevate, I guess, whatever you guys are doing, knowing that you guys were never really going to break up or never really going to get married.
I
What
don't,
are your thoughts on the theory?
I mean, I can understand why somebody would think that if they see you're friends with somebody in the public eye and somebody who's done reality TV. If anything, my friendship with Gabby made me really weary of reality
Fair
TV. I
enough.
wouldn't say it made me want to go on. Um, and I like fully, I like uh, hid publicly our friendship and everything when I was applying because I really didn't want that to have anything to do with any of it.
I actually didn't know until this
Um,
podcast mentioned it. So
yeah,
I don't think it
I'm
was something you were like publicizing in some sort of
definitely not.
cloudy way because I didn't see it.
And I have been friends with Gabby since before she ever went on The Bachelor. So like I don't care about like making our friendship super like well known or public. Like I know what our friendship is, and yeah, but that's just kind of funny to me that like people think that because no one goes on this experience and gets away like unscathed. Everybody, you would be able to tell if you were watching somebody not being genuine. Like people have called out things that they have seen. So like you're either gonna if I don't know, like I think it's just like kind of silly because everybody there has the same thing at risk,
Yeah,
and like you don't know what can happen, and I think
you really
nobody
don't know what
goes
can happen.
on. I think everybody goes on thinking and hoping that they're going to come out of there with the person they came there with and be even stronger.
Hmm.
So in a way, I think everybody kind of goes on with that mentality of like, we're gonna do this and get through it and be better for it. And nobody expects to be the one like dealing with like either falling for someone else or having their partner fall for someone else or having something happen.
Yeah.
Nobody really expects that. And I think I went on thinking all the other couples were gonna be in the exact same boat that Kyle and I were and feel really strongly for their partner. But every
Hmm.
relationship has problems, and I was very aware that we were going to be like putting them on display for everybody and discussing them in front of everyone and dealing with them ourselves. So I don't
Well,
know
I'm
if that
curious.
answers that.
Yeah, well, oh, and fun fact. So I used to do stand-up comedy in Toronto. I don't anymore because I was really bad
Oh,
at it.
fun.
But I have met Robbie before because I mean, this was when she was already pretty big, and I think she was just back visiting Toronto. So we have like pretty much just like two big comedy venues here. One is Comedy Bar, so I hosted and produced a show there. So I'd met her before. I'm like, oh my God, you like, it's just like another Jewish woman from Toronto. I'm just like so proud of what she's accomplished. So yeah, like I love them. They're so amazing. And I guess did Gabby though give you any, having been on like sort of, both ends of it, being like celebrated and being like getting hatred as well, was she able to give you any sort of insight into being on reality TV, any sort of tips or tricks to sort of help you get through it?
Um, we didn't really discuss it, to be honest. At first, when I was talking about maybe doing it, she was like, don't do it. And I was like, yeah, I probably won't. And like, I don't really know. Like, I was going through a lot of stuff, a lot of hard things in my personal life. And I think I just wanted something to like not think about that
Hmm.
stuff. And like, it felt like just a break from reality in a way. And like, how many people get this opportunity? And like, I truly didn't think we were like, every time we got through another round of interviews, I was just kind of like, okay, well, like, it's probably not going to happen. I'm not
Right.
really going to think about it. Like, and it was just so, yeah, not something I would normally do.
Yeah.
Um, so I think like when I actually was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this,
It's like
Gabby
like
was
I don't
like,
really have
you'll be
much time to
fine,
think about it.
just be yourself. And like that was the extent of the advice.
Honestly, that is the best advice. It really
Yeah.
is. Because like you just said, being disingenuine will show right through.
Yeah.
I do want to
Yeah.
ask you some questions about the show, and then I want to ask you some questions about Vanderpump Rules because we were talking earlier, and I just
Oh,
want to get
yeah,
your
sure.
opinion on Vanderpump Rules, the Valley, and all of it. But okay, so why did you decide to choose Ashley as your trial partner, do you think? What was it
Because
about her?
yeah, I chose Ashley because I felt like our conversations were easy and no, there were like no hurdles. And she's also kind of like goofy. And so we were able to just immediately be comfortable around each other and kind of
Hmm.
like make jokes and understood each other's sense of humor. And I also like felt like she was taking it seriously and she was like being, yeah, very genuine and authentic. And it just made it a lot easier. Like the fact that we could talk about each other's relationships and be able to call each other out on things and be super, super honest with each other about
That's
where we
good.
thought like we needed to grow and things that like our own faults within the relationship. It was just like we had that trust. And so we were able to do that and like get close very quickly. And I think, yeah, I also just like enjoyed that she like it felt like was a little more fluid with the not with like her gender but just with like expressing like masculine and feminine sides and like being able to talk about that stuff and like gender roles and whatever. Like we had a lot of discussions about that and it didn't feel as binary as with some of the other dates. So I enjoyed that too. And yeah, we just got along really well.
I feel like maybe that's why we didn't get to see much of your experience because I went back and watched because I watched it like four times.
Yeah, there's
But like I went
hardly
back and watched
anything.
and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think we got much on it. And maybe that's because it was so fluid and flowed so well and you guys have just had a good experience. So
Yeah,
because there wasn't a lot of drama, they didn't bother covering it that much, I
definitely. I
guess.
think we were just like having good conversations and
Yeah.
getting close and like not being toxic, I guess, or like not being
Damn it.
dramatic.
Well, obviously you only saw one side of, the relationship between like Ashley and Marita because you lived with Ashley, but
Yeah,
were you able, I guess, to see any side of what Marita was talking about in terms of her
yeah,
concerns with
yeah,
Ashley?
yeah. And that's what Ashley, like, that's what I talked about a lot with her. And I wish they would have shown something because that's kind of the whole point of this, I thought. And we talked a lot about how, like, to me, the issue was never like, oh, she won't buy me flowers. So like I understood Marita feeling like Ashley wasn't, going out of her way to show her like to like love her in the way that she wants to be loved. But I also could tell that like Ashley was holding on to things from their relationship and had some
Okay.
resentment around things. And like when you have resentment, it's very hard to then like show these acts of love. Like it doesn't come naturally when you're holding on to things and when you feel hurt by things. And so that's what I said. I was like, you clearly like have things you need to work through and talk through with her. And I don't think you're capable of like, because it's going to feel phony to you. And that was
Right.
what I loved about Ashley was that she's very authentic. So like, yeah, she could have gone and gotten flowers, but she wouldn't have meant it. And so she wasn't going to do it, you know?
Right. Yeah, I
And that's
completely get
why
that.
we talked a lot about that. It was like, you need to figure that out because I think like you're never going to get there without addressing that.
Well, I am curious because, you guys have been doing a lot of events together recently and they've both been there. So, do you know their current status? Are they currently together? Because at the reunion, they were no longer together, but just seeing them on like posters for events together, like club events and stuff, do you know if they're currently dating?
They're not together. Yeah,
Okay.
they're not dating each other. We just like all get invited to the same events. So we're gonna have to run into each other and have to spend time with each other. And
It's awkward. So they're
they're,
not friends right
yeah,
now.
they are able to get along sometimes. I think like, yeah, I don't know. It seems like the status of their friendship changes a
It's hard
lot. And
when there's
like, I'm
feelings
sure there's a
involved.
lot of, yeah, exactly. Like, I think it's hard. It's like, imagine having to spend all this time with your ex. It doesn't matter. Like, even if you had a good breakup, it's still going to be hard, I
Right.
think.
Ugh, a nightmare.
Yeah.
Speaking of nightmares, so Kyle and Pilar were together in their trial marriage, and then Kyle came to you and told you that she had a kiss with Pilar, and that was probably a very difficult moment for you. Tell me what that moment was like for you. What was it like to digest that information, for her to say, like, I was thinking of you? I mean, you sort of made a face in that moment. And I guess, it's obviously a year out and you've had time to process, but I'm very curious just what that was like for you in that moment.
Yeah, it was hard. And I think she definitely wanted to take accountability for her part in things. And then I think when I heard the full story, like I understood it and I couldn't, like, I wasn't mad at her about it. And I was glad that she got to a place where she was able to have a friendship with Pilar and they were able to, like, still learn a lot from each other and be more open and honest with each other. Instead of, like, going along with, what, like, I don't know. I think, like, it was hard, obviously, to hear and to talk about, but I think I was proud of Kyle for, you know, getting the confidence and learning what she needs to work on and ultimately like because I was just the first couple days, and the rest of their trial marriage, they like learned a lot from each
Oh,
other and it helped them discuss things more openly and communicate better and just be really like blunt with each other.
so you sort of feel like it happened for a reason and they ended up like learning from it. So
I don't
in
know
a
if it
way,
happened for a reason. I
not in,
think,
I mean, like they learned from it is more what
right. Yeah. I think like ultimately, like everyone's okay and they learned a lot of things still within their trial
yeah.
marriage.
What rules did you have going in? And was this a violation of those rules?
We didn't set like hard rules. I think, like I said before, I was just under the assumption that we're all kind of in the same boat. And like, I really love Kyle. Kyle really loves me. All the other couples, I presume, like, presumably they love each other as well, and care deeply about each other and don't want to hurt each other. And so I kind of just assumed, like, the person that I'm with and the person Kyle's with, they're also gonna feel that way about their partners and wanting to do this in a respectful way. And we both, like Kyle and I talked about wanting to get the most out of this. Um, and like, I think both of us just felt like physical intimacy wasn't something that you needed to do in order to like explore a trial marriage with somebody else because it's just a 3 week experience. And I think we're both like aware enough and realistic enough to know that that will have consequences in our relationship. And like, if we wanted to go out and have like be physical with somebody else, we don't have to go on a show to do that. So I
Right.
think even though we didn't talk explicitly about any of this, like there was an understanding. And I
Yeah.
think we just assumed all the other couples kind of felt the same way.
I don't think they did. I think there was a lot of disconnect with
Yeah,
some
I
of the
think
other
maybe
couples.
we should have
And I
talked
think maybe,
more.
I mean, you guys seemed okay, but like, I think a lot of the other couples maybe should have spoken about it because, it does change things, right? I mean, like,
Yeah,
you're considered exes, but you're not really, right? Like, it's an experiment. It
yeah,
is a big deal to do that. I don't know. I mean, was there a part of you, even for a second, that you thought, oh my God, I'm going to end my relationship over this?
no, I don't think so. I think you're not watching somebody's true colors come out. You're watching someone have like you're seeing what somebody's response is to being put under a lot of pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and you're seeing what people's stress responses are, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like seeing people kind of at their worst, at their like least emotionally regulated, because it is a very hard thing you go through, and you're super isolated, and you're like under a lot of influence from other people, and yeah, there's just so much pressure there. So I don't think
It,
it's fair to judge these people based on like, I don't think it's fair to judge anyone based on this experience and say, like,
right.
well,
And what you
that's
see.
how they are behind closed doors. It's like, well, no, this is not real life. This is not ever a situation they would be put in real life.
Right. And I
So,
feel like that's something we've talked about with Love Island. I don't know if you watched this past season, but just in terms of
yeah,
this
I did.
being this social experiment, right? Like you don't
Yeah,
know what time of day it is. You have no connection to your
exactly. Yeah,
family.
they're like sleep
There,
deprived.
it's
They're,
such a bizarre thing. And so I didn't
yeah,
realize how much you really are isolated in this experiment. And
yeah,
I think a lot of grace needs to be given. And I feel like as much as you think that you sort of show your emotions a lot, I really recognized it in Haley. I feel like you really saw her. I mean, in one vein, she seemed very like cool and even keel. And then when everything sort of switched up on her and she realized, sorry, I forget the names of everybody because there's a lot of
sorry.
women whose names start with M, but whoever's Dana and
Megan.
Megan. So when she realized that Megan didn't love her and it just sort of like warped her mind, and then she realized, did I ruin my whole relationship with Pilar? What have I done here? And I feel like she just sort of got so lost in the sauce of it all, and you could sort of
Yeah,
see her process that. And thank God she had this amazing father, an amazing partner who stuck by her through it. But like, I think it sort of fucked with her in a way, right? You know what I mean? This
yeah,
experiment fucked with her, and you sort of watch her go through that process. Or even Pilar said at one point, I feel like she said, I feel like I'm losing myself in this, which totally fair. Who's
yeah,
meant for this, right? Like
yeah,
this,
yeah,
this is a I think to end up sort of like losing your mind in this and not maybe portraying your full self would be warranted.
yeah. I think like you're so isolated and it's
Yeah.
so scary and like tense. And then they say like, okay, and like you don't have any friends there because none of us live in Miami, right? And then they
Hmm.
say like, well, here's this person that's going to be your source of comfort,
Everything.
conversation, everything. And so it's easy to see how relationships formed so quickly. And
Yeah.
I think it is manufactured in most ways. Because I
Right.
think like if you look at us, I mean, there's so many different kinds of lesbians and we're all from different places. And like, I don't know that anybody even ended up with someone they necessarily would have like gravitated towards out in the real world. Like, I think it truly is so much of it is just circumstantial and like, yeah,
Yeah.
manufactured.
Interesting. So at the end of the experiment, you do get engaged, and I hope you don't take offense to this, but there was a look in your eyes where it almost seemed like you didn't really fully want to. And maybe it was just me, but like, how do you feel now, a year later, being engaged? Is it what you want? Are you happy?
Yeah, I mean, I think any looks you might see are because you're surrounded by like
Cameras.
strangers and cameras, and it's dead silent, and like you're being
Oh,
really
I didn't even think about
vulnerable.
that.
Like, think of how scary it is to be proposed to without anybody around, where you're just like pouring your heart out and you're like, even though it's the person you're most comfortable with in the world, but like you're being super vulnerable and just sharing all these things completely on the spot. And then on top of that, like you're surrounded by a bunch of other people who are hearing this that are not your like friends and family.
Right.
And they're also filming you. And it's also 100 degrees.
Right.
And
You're right. It's the
the
experiment
whole
again. It's
time
all those
I'm
things.
also like trying to remember because I proposed too. They didn't show it, but
Oh,
yeah, I got on a knee and proposed and did my whole own thing. So the whole time I'm also being like, what was I gonna
kind of.
say? Like, yeah, and I like was nervous to do my speech as well. And so like you really just see like a very real moment of me like
Hmm.
kind of like panicking. But it's not because I didn't want to get engaged to Kyle. It's just because it's like you're doing this really vulnerable, nerve-wracking thing in front of so many people.
I hate
Yeah,
that they didn't show your side. That
I
sucks.
know. Yeah, I think it kind of plays into this heteronormative, more palatable idea of a lesbian couple that Netflix wants to portray. I
Did
don't know.
any of the
That's just
other
my take on it.
couples both do it? Because I'm curious if they did that with
Dana
other
did
couples
too. I
too.
think they showed her like pulling a ring out, but I don't know if she also like fully proposed. I can't remember, but I think that was the only other one. But they only showed her just like pulling a ring out. They didn't show a full proposal. I don't know if there was one.
So at the reunion, you do get, and again, I don't remember who said it because of someone whose name was started with an M, but someone at the end thanked the host, Joanna Garcia Swigger, for despite not being a queer person, she was still very supportive to the cast going through this process. And I don't know if you've seen the online discourse about, she seems like a nice lady, but why couldn't they have gotten a queer host for this? And I'm just curious your opinion on that as someone who had actually met her and had gone through the process with her. Do you feel like it would have been more valuable to have had a queer host for this show, or do you feel sort of what your castmates' sentiment was that she did a good job and it didn't really matter?
I think, you know, my castmates spoke up because there were a lot of comments that I think were bothering that were, weren't she was getting picked on, I guess, for hosting the show. And I think AJ just wanted to show like solidarity, and show that we saw that. But I do think the show should have a queer host because it's a queer dating show. I just think I don't think it's her fault. I think
No,
she was
why wouldn't she
offered a
turn down the
job and
job,
she
right?
did a good job
No,
at the job. Yeah.
no, just
It's
curious your
not at
thoughts on
all
whether the show
personal
should
in
have it.
any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
No, it's not her fault.
yeah, no, it's nothing on her. And she was really nice, like to all of us. I think we all had individual moments talking to her, connecting with her off camera. Very sweet, very nice woman. But yeah, I think like if you're gonna have a queer dating show, especially because, it was um supposed to be hosted by Vanessa and Nick Lachey because they host the other shows. So
Hmm.
that would have made sense, I guess, because it's like, well, they host these shows that
Yeah.
already exist. But then when they weren't gonna be the hosts to then choose another straight person, I think that's
Yeah.
why it's even weirder because it's like,
Right.
why would they do that? But I don't know. I think, yeah, it should be a queer host.
Who would your dream casting pick be for host?
Oh God. Well, I love the Handsome podcast, so all of them would be fun.
Like the Hanson
Um,
brothers?
no, Handsome. It's
What's that?
Tig Notaro, Fortune Feimster, and Mae Martin.
Oh my gosh. Love it.
That would have been fun.
Um,
Any like, yeah, anyone gay or
Anyway,
queer. Yeah.
just anyone. Anyway, we were talking right before
Yeah.
we hit record
Or like
about
anyone from season one. Like I think that would have made sense too. Yeah.
there's this girl Francesca Farrago, who I think is from Too Hot to Handle, which is a Netflix
Okay.
show, but there's really only like two people who became like uber famous out of that, which was Harry Jowsey and Francesca Farrago. and she's in a relationship with a trans person, and they have two babies that they did through, I don't know, through surrogate or IUI or something. I just love their relationship and their family, and I feel like because there's sorry, there's toys in here, part of the Netflix family, I feel like that would be such like an awesome duo to have as hosts, almost like together, because you have Nick and Vanessa, so why not these two?
Yeah, I'm not familiar, but
No.
sure. Anyone. Yeah, it would have been great too to have like trans people on the show. Like I think Kyle and I are the only ones who like self-identify as gender fluid or non-binary, and like I know people from season one now identify that way, and maybe a couple did on the show. So like I
Hmm.
just hope it continues to get more inclusive, and it'd be great
Yeah.
to see more people of color because it wasn't the most diverse cast. Like they definitely could have found more people of color
Yeah.
to be on the cast.
Right, for sure. Well, I
Yeah.
want to touch on Vanderpump Rules because before we hit record, you said you are a fan of Vanderpump Rules, The Valley,
Yeah.
and all the likes. So, oh, just been so much Vanderpump news lately. I'm just curious your thoughts. Thoughts on Sheena's book. I'm sure you haven't read it, but like thoughts, I guess, on
Yeah,
like
I can't say I
Brock
have.
and the cheating scandal. Like,
Yeah,
what were
that's
your thoughts on
crazy.
that? Was that shocking to you?
Yeah, I was just kind of like, why are you sharing this? I mean, not to say that she shouldn't speak her truth, but like, I guess I was like, oh, are they gonna get divorced? Like, what's going on? Um,
Nope.
yeah, but good for her being brave and sharing that, I guess.
And Jax just announced that he's stepping down from his bar, and we know that he was recently let go from the show. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, do you think these things are warranted? I'm sure you do. I definitely
Yeah,
love
I
to hear
think
your
that
opinion.
the Valley, like, as I'm watching it, I feel like I'm almost like I don't feel like we should be seeing this. Like, but at the same time, maybe it is important for people to see this, to know
I
that
had both
they're
of
in
those
an,
thoughts as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
really wild, like, yeah, scary behavior. And just to see like his OTFs and like what he says about like being such a great father, and like whenever he's like, anyone in my position would have handled this that way. Like the things he says are just wild. And yeah, it's just
Because a
been
woman
really
can't handle a
crazy.
house that big as a woman,
Yeah,
as a
what?
woman, you just couldn't.
Yeah, that's something else. He needs some help.
Well, the show is just wild. I guess what else did I want to ask you about it? I mean, did you get through watching it? Because a lot of people were saying that it just felt like too icky for them. It felt too dark. A lot of people were sort of reverting to podcasts, or were you able to like get through the whole thing? I feel like, you know what, he also left for so much of it. He really wasn't in it
Yeah,
that
he's
much.
not in too much of it. I watched it all,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was definitely watching like kind of cringing and being like, I don't know like how I feel about this, but
Oh, I'm curious
yeah.
your thoughts on the Janet of it all.
Yeah, I don't like really know what to think. I don't know. I feel like also half the time when I'm watching The Valley, I'm like struggling to pay full like keep up with a lot of the drama. So I kind of forget like what people are so mad at her
Yeah, why
about.
are we mad about it? That's such a
Yeah.
housewives thing. I'm like, I'll be halfway through an episode. I'm like, what are
Yeah.
we fighting about again?
Yeah. And I can't tell like if it is about like the Danny stuff, because that stuff is bad. Like I understand. But I also like if the like people that were affected by that don't want to be talking about it, then like it shouldn't be talked about. So I don't
Yeah.
really know. I'm just like kind of a little bit like having a hard time keeping up with which thing people are mad about. So I mean that's
It's
it's
so
more like
true because that's what
confusing
it's
for me.
become,
Yeah.
right? Because you end up really I don't know how it became this way, but in the Bravo fandom, it's really become about like you like your people and you defend them at all costs, no matter what they do. And so it's become less about us like really focusing on what Danny did and more about hating Janet. And it doesn't matter what comes out of her mouth at this point, even if she screams something really important, because it's just more like death to Janet. And I've seen this happen in the Bravo fandom before. You've had people like claim very serious things, and someone says, well, I don't believe you because I mean, all this happens in the world in many other respects, right? But like, it's really interesting how we're now downplaying something that's very serious because of who it came from. But then at the same time, I just don't love the way that she's weaponizing it in favor of. It's interesting what you said earlier about how why would anyone go on reality TV if they had like something to hide or they didn't want to be genuine. And I do have this theory about Janet and Jason that they just didn't feel like anything was ever going to come out about them because they didn't feel like they had any skeletons in their closet. And whether or not this ring rumor is true, they just never thought it would come up because one, they'd never heard it, two, they think it's made up. So I think they're just so focused on the fact that, like, yes, is if you Google Jason Caperna ring, would it come up? Maybe. And would that maybe ruin your reputation as a lawyer? Maybe. But you also went on reality TV. And while you may have thought, okay, but we're perfect, there's nothing that can ever happen. I guess maybe where they went wrong was thinking no one can ever make up something about us, I guess. Right. So
Yeah.
I think what you have to
People
go
make
into,
things
even
up.
because I thought to myself, like, even with all of the stuff that happened with a Love Island and being able to pull stuff that you've said in the past, people can also make stuff up about you. Also,
Definitely.
is it crazy to think that in like 2025 that we are all completely unscathed, that there is anyone out there who's completely unscathed? Like, I can't be certain, so I will just not go on reality TV. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There's nothing out
Yeah.
there. I'm not sure.
I think you just have to learn to tune it out if you're going to go on because
Right.
people really do make things up. If there's anything I've learned, it's that.
Yeah.
Um,
Has it been though a pretty positive experience for you since you've been in sort of like the limelight space? Have you gotten any hate or has it been like overall like a pretty nice experience?
yeah, I think like everyone's gotten at least a few comments that aren't nice, but I just don't pay any attention to those and I don't seek out Reddit threads or anything.
Good.
I kind of just stick to doing whatever I want and trying to like also use my platform for good and just like
I love that.
be myself and you can follow me or not. I think like it doesn't bother me because I can't imagine being a person going online and commenting something negative on somebody's video. So I just like those people to me are not people I relate to or respect. So honestly, like it doesn't bother me like
You're
what
really
kind of
strong. I
person
wish I
does
had
that.
that. I
Well,
know they're the
truly
worst
though,
kind,
like
but like sometimes it's just really hard not to get bothered.
yeah, I mean, sometimes you see something and it can make your blood boil because you're like, that's not true though, or like, why would they think this? But like, I am lucky. I know that for the most part, I'm getting positive comments, and I know a lot of other people are having a harder time with that. So, like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what that's like because I'm sure I would struggle with that. I'm sure it'd be hard to see that over and over, or like have people say, like, you guys shouldn't be a couple, like, or I want to see your partner with somebody else. Like, that would be really hard, I'm
Hmm.
sure. But it's like, I also just do try and keep in mind that, like, anyone saying anything negative is like a loser. Like, why bother posting something negative about somebody you don't even know?
Like, sure, I will get passionate about something. And I may get passionate about like the opposite viewpoint of whatever I'm watching or listening to, but I've never been compelled to then get up, go write that down
Yeah.
and tell it to somebody. It's just, and even if I did, I don't think I could get all the way through it because I have like the proper brain capacity to know that that's ridiculous. Like I just don't
Yeah.
understand how there's so many people on the other end. All right. Well, Bridget, I've kept you such a long time, but before I let you go, I want to know, would you recommend an ultimatum?
No.
Okay.
I just like don't think it's
Right
healthy
answer.
in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, Bridget, where can people follow you if they want to find you and see what you have going on?
Yeah, just it's just my name on everything. So it's just Bridget Matloff on like
Instagram,
Instagram and TikTok.
TikTok.
I don't have Facebook and I haven't been on X in years, but maybe I'll reappear. Who knows?
Awesome. All right, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast in partnership with Hurrdat Media. You can watch full-length videos on Hurrdat Entertainment's YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at the Bravo Investigator. If you enjoy the show, please leave me a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.
A Hurrdat Media Production.